Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Are you a Who Dat fan? If you're a Who Dat fan, subscribe to this channel. I love the Saints as much as you do. When you see one of my videos, I'll be talking about our beloved boys, and you let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Let's keep it in the Who Dat family. And today, I want to talk about AK and Kellen Moore. I want to talk about whether it's even a fit and what's the future of AK and what's the future of the running game for this team. Let's talk about it. So, yeah, I don't have anything prepared. I was watching NOF and someone had asked Nick Underhill the question about AK and his future. And it seems like everyone covering the Saints has been talking about this for months now. And I've kind of avoided it. I had a video months ago, probably before the season ended, talking about the fit. I don't think I don't think the fit is there. So I didn't think I really had much to say about it, but in this downtime during the summer, when there's not much to talk about, I figured I'd give you guys some content, and give you some comments, and you let me know in the comments what you think. But I think there's a difference between what AK used to be, Alvin Kamara, one of the greatest Saints ever. He's an all-time leading rusher. He's done some things on the field for our Saints over the course of his career that was pretty magnificent. But in the last, I'd say 4 years or so, five, maybe even, it's just been okay. And we've seen him go through a couple of coaches now. He's with Kellen Moore now. So I want to examine Kellen Moore as a offensive coordinator. You know, he's our head coach now for this will be his second year. And I looked through his history as an OC, and he's always had some pretty good running games. He's also had some decent offensive lines, and he's had some really good running backs. But I have nothing prepared. I'm just going off the cuff here. But when I look at Kellen Moore, I see a guy who's able to adapt with the personnel that he has, but he also has to have, a philosophy that he'd like to stick with. So I think about the team last year, the Saints, and what we were trying to accomplish with the running game. And I felt like most of the blame could go on the offensive line. We had a couple of young tackles, still do. They're progressing, they're learning. Kelvin Banks was a rookie last year. Tally Fuangas went from the left side to the right side. So there's a chance we get better with those two players. You know, we certainly hope. And then you have Eric McCoy, who can't stay healthy the last couple of years. And that probably has a lot to do with it, too. Eric McCoy is a really good center. Cesar Ruiz is a letdown for most people. I always thought he was a better run blocker than pass protector, but the numbers on Cesar Ruiz last year show that he was better in pass protection, which kind of blows me away. I really thought Cesar Ruiz's strength was as a run blocker, and then he'd have to get better as a pass protector. And then you go through different offensive coaches, offensive coordinators, you have different systems, offensive line coaches, different head coaches. And then lastly on the offensive line, Dylan Reduns, who had to start in place of Trevor Penning after, Penning was struggling so much. And I really feel like with Dylan Reduns, we probably had a little bit of a better overall player than Trevor Penning. Of course, Trevor Penning's strength coming out of college was his tenacity and his ability to run block. So the O-line was a mess last year. I concede. And it didn't matter if it was AK running the ball or if it was anybody else. I mean, Kendre Miller looks like a talented player. He can't stay healthy, but the overall numbers, even when the young guys were getting in there, Audric Estime, Devin Neal, the running game just wasn't where we really wanted it to be. I think as an offensive line, we got better once everything was settled in with Luke Fortner at center, Dylan Redunz at left guard. I felt like everything started to get a little better. Banks getting more comfortable in the league, stuff like that. And I thought Banks, as a rookie, needed to come in and get better as a run blocker and a pass protector. But I thought as a run blocker, he would be more fit, ready to go in the NFL, and he would have to progress more as a pass protector. So yeah, I don't know because the numbers say that he wasn't very good as a run blocker either. So are we going to have a better offensive line this year? We signed David Edwards, and that's an upgrade at left guard. And then you hope Eric McCoy stays healthy for a full season, and that would be an upgrade at center. Luke Fortner was not as bad as a backup center last year than we've had as with backup centers over the last couple of years. So, but yeah, overall we should be better. But are we going to be that much better? It's tough to say. Kelvin Banks is going to be going into his second year. Fuanga is going to be going into his third year, his second year at right tackle in the NFL. So you hope there's progression there. And then Edwards, certainly a better left guard than Dylan Redunz, though Dylan Redunz got better and better as the year went on. David Edwards is kind of a complete guy, but I think people find that his leadership and his ability to pass protect is his strength. Maybe Edwards, isn't so great as a run blocker. So, and then there's Cesar Ruiz, who, through all the different coaches and all the different offensive line coaches, you just never know what you're going to get with Cesar Ruiz. So, yeah, I think the offensive line will be better. It might only be slightly better, but it should be better. We expect it to be better. Now, let's go to Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is losing a step. Alvin Kamara has always been a slippery kind of running back. He's fast and quick when he was younger, and getting him on the edges was his best, play. So running between the tackles, he could break tackles. Alvin Kamara to me is like a slippery noodle, but people would just slide right off of him. He wasn't breaking tackles with the toughness and stiff arms and running people over. He was just really hard to bring down. Slippery. That's what I call Alvin Kamara, slippery. And he's an exceptional talent, even though he is older, and even though he could even lose a bigger step this year. I still think he's a good enough talent to have on this team and can make some things happen. But not fast enough to get around the edge anymore like he used to, and just not built to run between the tackles. So we get better at blocking up front between the tackles. I think that's something that Kellen Moore wants to do. I think that the inside zone or gap, whatever, between the tackles is something Kellen Moore wants to do, and he needs tough running backs to do it. So, is Alvin Kamara really built for that kind of a running attack? No. And at his stage in his career, I can only imagine that he might be better than Ty Chandler, even though Chandler's younger and probably quicker on the edge and stuff. He's probably a better overall running back than that guy. But maybe Kellen Moore looks at it as, hey, I'd rather get younger and cheaper. I don't think Kellen Moore wants Alvin Kamara on his team. I mean, I'm sure he would love to have him under a really cheap contract as a veteran guy who can, receive out of the backfield and split out wide. We weren't doing a lot of that stuff with Alvin Kamara last year. Alvin Kamara's strength was always, split him out. Let him run some option routes. Let him run off the edge. Let him line up in different places. Screen passes, stuff like that. We didn't really go in all on AK's strength last year. Now, Kellen Moore If he is so good at fashioning an offense with the personnel that he has, you would think that we would have ran a heck of a lot more screens, a heck of a lot more split AK out, let him run options. You have your hands tied by that offensive line who really couldn't pass protect at all, and you also have your hands tied with a couple of young quarterbacks. So now we've got Tyler Shuck entrenched as our starter. Shuck shows the ability to get out of pressure. He shows the ability to make plays on the run. He shows the ability to run the ball. And I think there's a lot more confidence there going into this year. You can make a game plan with a quarterback in mind. Tyler Shuck is your QB. Maybe you're not afraid to call certain things now that you've upgraded the O line. And, like I say, the progression of the young tackles, Eric McCoy staying healthy, bringing in David Edwards. Maybe there's a little more confidence for Kellen Moore to call what he really wants to call. And I look back at his career as an OC, and I see a lot of inside runs with some big, tough running backs. Not so much guys that are slippery like AK, but guys that are tough and one cut like Travis Achan. Now, Achan's not a spring chicken. He's not going to be able to break it around the edges like a young AK could or a young, Travis Achan could. So, like a Travis Etienne could. He's Travis Achan now, and he's our number one guy. There's no doubt about it. So what's the future of AK? In my opinion, I don't think Kellen Moore really wants an AK. He'll be glad to have him for cheap. And if you lose your top back, AK is not a bad guy to fall back on. But AK would have to take a price cut. He would have to take a reduction in salary. And listening to NOF, it got me thinking about AK's trade value. Maybe we thought we could trade AK. Maybe that's why we haven't really done anything with AK in his contract. He's under contract. He's going to be on the team. But I don't think anybody's going to trade for a 30-something-year-old running back with that contract. And I think after we did that adjustment, that 50% thing that we did that no one ever heard of before with AK's contract, I think it means that whoever trades for him is going to have to take on the whole contract. So nobody's going to do that unless something tragic happens in one of these other teams and they really feel like they're close and they want a good veteran and they're able to take on that kind of a cap hit. Maybe you see a trade market later on this summer in the training camp right before the season. It would be unceremonious as the Saints to let AK go, to just cut him or to trade him away like that. And AK's already said he doesn't want to play anywhere else. But this is Bellamy. I got to let y'all know about my cats. Y'all have seen Bellamy before. He loves affections. So I'm under the belief that AK's just not on the top of Kellen Moore's list of guys to have. Maybe he's got a guy like Ty Chandler now who can do some of the things AK can do. Not nearly as good, but he's got that speed option if he wants. And wouldn't that be something if Ty Chandler makes this football team? Because you've got a lot of good players. You've got a thumper like Audric Estime, who I love, and a bit of a thumper in Devin Neal, who, in my opinion, I've always compared him to a Pierre Thomas type who can do it all, especially pass block. Now, that's one thing AK was never good at, pass protection. And, with Sean Payton, it was like, okay, why ask him to pass protect? Sean Payton loves to spread it out and split AK out and let things happen that way. So I don't know if Kellen Moore really wants to do that kind of thing. I think Kellen Moore is going to lean more on his tight ends and some of the bigger bodies at wide receiver to take care of those things in the middle of the field. And he's going to want his running back to pass protect a lot. That makes the value of a Devin Neal great to me. Now, Neal's got to stay healthy. Kendre Miller, Not sure how good of a pass protector he can be. He's just never stayed healthy enough for us to even evaluate that. He's a good, tough runner. He has great speed. I think Kendre Miller could do a lot as an overall back if he stays healthy. Man, and that's tough. Audric Estime, he's a bowling ball. I think his pass protection would be okay. And I think as a receiver, he'd be okay. He wouldn't get a lot of separation, but you design some things, get the ball in his hands. I think Audric Estime could be a good player to have. Kind of like a backup thumper. Devin Neal can be your all purpose backup who's just not going to give you a lot with speed at all. But you keep a Ty Chandler or even a Kendre Miller, and you'll have a speed element. And you ride it out with Travis Achan. So what happens to AK? Does AK sign a reduced contract? If he does, and his intention is to stay here, then, man, that would make him even more tradable. He signs a reduced contract, that makes him more attractive for another team to trade for. And if AK says, you trade me, I'm just retiring, I don't know how that works out. He retires before the trade goes down, something like that. I believe if we cut AK just outright at a certain time and just let him go, I think we owe him like $3 million, and it reduces our cap next year by like $7-8 million. So there's a benefit for this team in just cutting AK. But the point of my video is I just don't think that he's a fit in this offense with Kellen Moore. I really don't. Now, do we have the backup backs right now without AK? I mean, I'd be, as a Saints fan, more comfortable with ALVIN Kamara as my backup than oft-injured Kendre Miller. I love Devin Neal and I love Audric Estime. And you have another speed element with Chandler. Chandler hasn't shown a lot right now in the offseason, so that's still a big question. He gives you special teams ability, but I think Chandler's got some ability. I think that with a better offensive line in a Kellen Moore system, Chandler will probably be limited. But in my opinion, so would ALVIN Kamara. So that's my thoughts, guys. I'm thinking ALVIN Kamara just doesn't fit in a Kellen Moore system, in the system that Kellen Moore really wants to run. And we're probably still a year away before we're really, really built the way Kellen Moore wants to build this team. I think that with the extra money we'll have next year, we'll be able to fill in the rest of the gaps that we may have. Kellen Moore, as a head coach, would show so much more if he had so much more to play with. Any coach would. But I mean, Kellen Moore came into the system. He came onto this organization with his hands tied. I mean, most people really, really felt like this was the worst situation for a head coach to come into. Strapped for cash, old players. And what really helped us out last year was hitting on that draft. We got a lot of good players. And then we've also made, some interesting moves in free agency. This year we had money to play with, and we were able to address, some glaring needs. And next year, when we have a lot more money, we'll be able to fill in the gaps. And that, it'll make every head coach better. But I think I'm not going to pass judgment on Kellen Moore just yet as overall until, he has more to work with. Now, this second draft of his looks okay, seems promising. We're going to have to see. It seems like we're stocking the wide receiver room for our, future starting quarterback of the franchise. So, maybe there's a few more pieces to add. You get another offensive lineman in here, or maybe two. A good backup center that we can really rely on, another right guard, and then grab another running back, and then maybe then we can finally see the Saints offense perform in with the running game the way that Kellen Moore wants. I think there was some fear in what to run last year. We were doing a lot of plays from the shotgun, running plays from the shotgun. It just didn't make sense to me. But then when you think about the ineptitude of the offensive line, it started to make more sense. I don't know if Kellen Moore wants to play under center. I haven't done a deep dive every offensive coordinator job he ever had. Maybe he likes to run from the shotgun. Well, you're gonna have to have a really good offensive line for the running game to work if you're gonna start the running back 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage every play. And yeah, I think that putting the quarterback under center, we might do a little more of that this year. Build the tight end room up even more. Maybe, maybe we keep 4 tight ends this year. Maybe we try to go into more 2 and 3 tight end sets. It's one of them things. I think the team was so bad off when Kellen Moore got here, and we look so much better now as an offense, on paper. But we're still not really there yet. There's still a lot more work to do. But overall, when it comes to AK and Kellen Moore, I just don't think it's a fit. I think that if Kellen Moore had money to address the running back room next year, to bring in another addition. It wouldn't be an oft injured Kendre Miller, and it wouldn't be uh, a noodle like AK, who's 1 year older and getting older. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be somebody else. And that's another thing. The running backs that we've addressed with this coaching staff, the running backs we've brought in, totally different guys than AK. So Kendre Miller's that mystery, man. If he stays healthy, he could be somebody that fits in the system. I just don't think AK fits. I think best case scenario is AK takes a reduced salary and he stays on the team and he's able to be used in the way with his strengths, and that's just not a starting running back for Kellen Moore, but a guy that can come in and be effective, on the outside and in the passing game. That would be best case scenario if we keep him. But AK says he doesn't want to play with another team. Instead of cutting him, I would much rather trade him. I know it's unceremonious, but I've already uh, I've already come to terms that AK's got his place in Saints history. I'm just not sure if he has a place in the present or the future. Bellamy, you shed so much, I swear, for this team. So that's what I think. I'm Joe, and before I go, I gotta introduce you guys to somebody. Hold on one sec. All right, this little guy right here is a new kitten that we have. Mm, We didn't plan on having him. I call him my little Kit Kat because he's a kitten and he's a cat. This little guy showed up in our yard okay, let me get this right. A couple of weeks ago, we had a storm come through here in Louisiana. It wasn't a tropical storm. It was, a notch lower than that. It did wreak havoc, caused a lot of tornadoes in South Louisiana and a lot of thunder and lightning, which is really weird for a hurricane type storm. But this little guy showed up in our yard a couple of days before that storm came. He had crawled under the fence and came in our yard. I fed him, and he was nervous about being around the other animals, so he just kept going under the fence into the bushes that were in the neighbor's yard. Well, the neighbors were moving at that time, and the owner of the property came and cut the bushes, and we didn't see this little guy after those bushes got cut, and we were worried about him. We thought that he ran away. We hoped he would come in our yard and be safe there, but he just disappeared for a day, and the next day was the storm, and we thought we'd never see him again. And then the next day, he just popped up again. And I don't know if he's a boy or a girl yet, but I call him Kit Kat, and Bellamy doesn't like him for some reason. All the other cats in my house do. Now, if you guys have been subscribed to my channel, you know I have 12 cats. I do not have room for another one. But this little guy was so weak. He had, you could feel his bones when you pet him and stuff. So we wanted to nourish him and get him to a good place. And he's at a good place now. That's my little Kit Kat. My little Kit Kat. Now, he's brown and black, and he kind of looks like a Kit Kat. And we're going to end up giving this baby away to a good home, and they'll name the cat. So right now, we're just calling him Kit, which stands for Keep It Together, because that's what he did. He made his home under those bushes on the other side of the fence, and when those bushes got cut down, he was freaked out. And then that storm comes the next day, and this little guy who was skin and bones managed to survive all of that. And he's with us now. And yeah, I just fed him a little while ago, so I think he's ready to sleep. He's on my shoulder. Show everybody your big, beautiful eyes. Look at that baby. He's so sweet. Hmm. Got a little engine purring right now next to me. So yeah, had to show you guys this baby. I don't know how long he'll be with us, but sweet little baby. All right, I'm Joe. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos about our beloved saints. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat? You want to go see Snicky? My Snickers girl. Let me show you babies. That's my Snickers. She likes the kitten. She likes Kid. My Sneaky doo doo. You gonna kiss the baby? Kiss the baby. Yeah. Oh, that's my loves right there. Mm-hmm. That's my loves. Look at this little one. You're so sweet. Yeah. Bye.